When we bought this house, nothing had been done to it for about 60 years, I think. And it was nothing like it is now, let's say. It needed a lot of work. Although we'd done a similar project on our last house, it hadn't been anything like as big, and it hadn't really involved major building work. There'd been a bit of rearranging the interior of the house, but not actual building. And because here we knew we needed to push out into the garden, go up into the loft, and we were trying to work out how to juggle the space, because Jon works from home.
Yeah, and everything's on split levels. So there's like 2 stairs between the bedroom and 2 stairs to the next level, and the layout's quite complicated, so we needed someone who could, well, help us make it simple. I think probably it was feeling like there was someone whose style and approach was similar to what we envisaged was the house we wanted to create at the end of the day. It was something we could live in. And then we kind of went away and did some thinking around writing a brief and looking for sort of images and inspiration and things that we liked in terms of the style, and having something that felt quite simple, quite modern, but didn't feel like it would be a sort of standard extension.
Yeah, I mean, design element, but without it sort of pushing forward an architectural idea at the expense of it being a usable space for us as a family. So it's balancing those two things. We didn't set out to create a design concept. We wanted to have a lovely family house that also looked really nice and wasn't just run of the mill. They were very responsive. They listened to what we wanted and took it on board.
James and the team spent a lot of time with us, kind of going through, what could we keep, what could we take away, and working out where might be an appropriate place for a compromise, and what were we prepared to compromise on, and explaining the kind of impact of that on other things that maybe we hadn't thought of. So
I think actually when we look at the building process, it was pretty smooth, and I think a lot of that was because a lot of time had been spent in preparing and drawing up the plans properly. Yeah. And so there weren't very many surprises when we actually came to build it. So the interior designers looked at the bathrooms, and they also looked at the joinery. I think they were the main areas.
Certainly our bathroom, so our ensuite in the master, is not something I think we'd have come up with on our own as an idea.
Especially because we used Vicky, and a lot of the things that people really admire about my house, I take credit for, but really it was Vicky. And I don't know if we'd have been brave enough to come up with some of the design ideas that she came up with, like in our ensuite bathroom, which is very dark, for example. That's all her idea.
What's your favourite bit?
I think this room is probably one of my favourite rooms, which is just as well, because it's where I spend the vast majority of my time when I'm at home. But I do love it. It's really bright and open, and it just works really well with the kids. I also really like our bedroom, and all the bathrooms are nice actually, but I really do like our bathroom, which at one stage we were worried would be a bit of a compromise because it's not a massive space, but the way it's worked out, partly due to the design that Granite came up with, means it just feels a bit like being in a hotel.
In terms of doing the work to the house, we got a house that works for how we want to live in it. It's really easy with 2 kids and ourselves to live in the space we've created, and actually it works as a family home for how we want to live, and I think that for me is the biggest success of it.
In terms of doing it with Granite, I think it took away a significant portion of the stress, because although it was still stressful and very time consuming, if we hadn't had Granite, we would have drowned in it.
Well, we had a great experience. So, from that standpoint, it was good, and we'd certainly recommend them. I think we'd say, have a think about what it is you're looking for, and if the kind of stuff that you see on the website and the kind of conversations you have with them is what you're interested in, then we would recommend them, because that they've created for us a beautiful home, and people do remark that it is beautiful. And we couldn't have done that alone, so there's huge value in having a partner like Granite to kind of work on that.